Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Coach Crystal. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. If you're just joining us and you're not yet a part of the Steps and Stages community, let me be the first to welcome you to Wisdom Wednesdays with the mantra that we start each and every one of our sessions with. Listen, a lot of things happened before this, and I guarantee a lot of things are going to happen after this, but I promise to be here with you now. Please be here with me now. Tonight, I have a friend, someone I admire, a man who is extremely wise and diligent in making the efforts of love manifest in not only his life, but the lives of others. I have known F. Christopher Goins, Dr. Goins, President Goins, for about 22 years. And in that time, everything has changed, but I'm so grateful that nothing has changed within his character. Tonight on Wisdom Wednesdays, I want you to get a candid look into someone I admire again, but also into what it really means to lead with love. So please welcome to the Steps and Stages platform, President Newly Invested Christopher
Hey,
Goins.
hey,
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. It's good to see you. How are you?
Amazing, excellent.
I'm
Listen,
so proud of
uh,
you.
the feeling is mutual, my friend. The feeling is so mutual. That's why you're here, because I just need people to understand a little bit about how I got like this. And
Hey, how we got like
how
this?
we got like this. And I think, it's one of those really distinct principles about iron sharpening iron.
It is true.
So before we dive too far in, tell the people in your own words who you are, what you do.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here for Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Chris Goins. I am the 19th president of Gerard College, situated in Fairmount in Philadelphia. I have newly invested, as
Yeah.
Crystal mentioned earlier. I've been in Philadelphia for about 3 months, and I've been in the role for about 3 months. Gerard is a really unique place. And if you haven't heard it, I really encourage you to look it up. We are called Gerard College because our founder, Stephen Gerard, was from France. And Stephen Gerard left in his will when he died in 1831, his resources and the wealth that he had amassed to create a school for orphan males, first grade through 12th grade in the city of Philadelphia. Obviously, that was the school opened in 1848. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, and where the school originally was founded for orphan white men now serves 100% Black students in first through 12th grade in the city of Philadelphia. So it's a huge honor to be in this role, and I'm highly excited around the transformational things that we're going to do here at
Yeah.
Gerard College.
Listen, I'm excited for them because I know you. So let's just go back. I mean,
Okay.
the founder of the school and your mission as a person, as an educator, as an administrator are deeply aligned.
Yeah.
How did you find in your life path this place that embodied who you were?
Wow. So it's interesting you asked that question because that's been I've been talking about that. That has been my platform.
Mhm.
I am very fortunate. I am very blessed that very early on in life, I think if anything, my parents did really, really well, and they did a lot of things great.
Yeah.
But I give all of that to them. They were very instrumental in putting us in situations. And you just described this before we came on the air, Crystal. Just how you're raising Gabe. You want Gabe to know himself and know where he fits into the world.
Mhm.
And it's all about purpose and knowing what your purpose is in life. It makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
And so my parents just kind of really curated experience. They never forced anything on us. I look back on it, I thought I was living in a really disciplined household, but I really wasn't. My parents were
Yeah.
very liberal, very artsy,
Yeah.
and they just curated experiences for us, and we were able to make the decision as to whether or not we liked it or not.
Mhm.
I was always busy, always doing something, but I eventually found myself like I was pretty good at getting other people to do things the way that I want to do it,
Yeah.
or the way that I thought it should be done.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that demonstrated a lot of leadership. And as I started to get older and thinking about it, my parents were like, hey, you got to be thinking about college. and what college is going to mean for you. We were not able to graduate from college, but our kids will. And
Mm-hmm.
so the expectation was set really clear. But I also knew, and I never forget my dad saying, he didn't graduate from college because he was majoring in the wrong thing. Uh,
Mm.
he majored in what he thought people wanted him to be.
Yep.
And he just made a vow to his kids and his family that, we were just going to be able to choose. And he was very adamant about majoring in something that you can do in your sleep.
Mm.
And so I did not want to be like, I thought I wanted to be an attorney and all of that stuff, and you don't know this probably. I had started
Let me
out
see.
political science major at A&T at my freshman year.
I think I knew that part because you like to argue. Mhm.
Yeah, right. And so I changed my major to history secondary education,
Mhm.
and that's the decision that I made. And I should have made that decision when I came into A&T, but I didn't because I knew that then. But I wanted to do the thing that was going to give me some money.
Mhm.
And that's I would say, to really answer your question. I love that it all counts.
It all
Uh,
counts.
to answer your question, is it really started with my parents and how we grew up. They didn't force things on us. They allowed us the agency to figure things out on our own.
Mm-hmm, I've watched your career, peripherally from Chicago, from Noble Charter to, the Obama Foundation. I've watched you take on challenges that are bigger than you, right?
Ooh.
And what I think is noble about that is that in the process that we take our clients through vision building, there's a place in there where if you're trying to build something, one of my questions to you is always, does it have good in it for others? And are you
Mm,
going to need help from a higher power?
mm.
Because if you don't, then it's just a plan and you can execute a plan without me. Right. But we're here to build visions. We're here to build bigger, better, greater,
Come
higher,
on.
fuller lives. But I've seen you do that. And I want to know, because I think the quality of our lives is built on the quality of our questions. What's the question you're asking yourself when you're in transition?
Oh, oh. It's constantly evolving. I want to start there.
Mm-hmm.
The questions should always constantly evolve.
Yeah.
My questions that I asked for this transition, now
Mm-hmm.
that I'm in Philadelphia, those questions were different from when I even transitioned from Butler to the Obama Foundation.
Yeah.
Um, I As we learn more, we start questioning more.
Yeah.
For me, with this particular role, what I never questioned the mission of the work. I knew
Mm-hmm.
there was alignment there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I never questioned, um, who the work was benefiting.
Yeah.
Never questioned that at all. What I questioned and what I needed to know before I accepted this role to come to Gerard College was, do these people love Black people?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am on this earth to help my people and lead my people.
Yeah.
And it has been a journey to get to that point, to be able to say that unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I did intense investigation, and I wanted to know that the people that I report to
Yeah.
know and understand that I am a Black man. I'm also a Black gay man.
Mm-hmm.
And you all got to understand and know that one of the things I required them to do, and it wasn't a part of their process, I said, hey, you need to come and visit me in Chicago. If you don't come and visit me in Chicago, no deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I needed them to know who I was,
Right.
and I needed to know who they were. I needed them to touch my people. I needed them to see my people, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout all of that, of course, I am on my knees and I'm praying, and I'm having other people pray for me as well. But in this, I am just, God, I'm going to trust you. You have never led me astray.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I also developed kind of a different level of a relationship with the eternal Heavenly Father through this process.
Uh-huh.
And I kept, it was all about surrendering. I wasn't fully surrendering to what the universe wanted, what God wanted. I didn't feel like I was surrendering,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't giving this opportunity a real chance at the beginning. But then when I just surrendered and said, God, I need you to lead me, guide me, and he did.
Yeah.
And so those are the questions that I ask. And my conversations with God, I know this may seem very taboo and trivial,
No.
but I have to tell God, you have to show me, I'm stubborn. I don't always listen. I trust myself sometimes more than I should trust myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to show me, you have to prove it to me. God, I just ask you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I surrendered over to that. And I was able to see all the things that I needed to see, and knowing that this is the right place for me to be right now.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, again, y'all, these are candid conversations. There's no script here.
Okay.
But the underlying principle, and I don't think you've even heard this, because I don't know if you've been listening to the Wisdom Wednesdays, but our underlying principle for the year is that you are only as strong as your readiness to surrender. Like, it's Pico Eiler. But what's happening is that the readiness to surrender has to be built on a background or a value system of something you do trust. Right. And so what you're saying is you've had this experience of faith and leadership so many times in your life that it made it easier to surrender when you could verify how you were going to grow.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people are looking for that thing. They're looking for the thing to hold on to when everything else is shaking. Like, the world is changing dramatically. There is an entire theory now called fluid modernity, that the present moment changes so quickly that our fluid responses to it become the next modern thing, right? And so our children get stuck in this, and there's no real thing to hold on to. And the fluidity of it does not bring surrender, it brings safety.
Come on.
Right. So when we're trying to surrender and things are moving around us, it's easier to hold on to what you have rather than to let go and do something new.
Yeah. I just want to, you said a lot right there, a whole lot right there. But I just want to affirm that, because I've just moved into this area in my life. Like, I recognize that it is a privilege when you have figured out what your purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we are. I think that's where the education system has missed the mark with Black people.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be a space. I was just fortunate enough to have the right parents. My parents were just special. And I grew up in a place, a very small town, that was serious about really developing its young people.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I'm trying to create that type of ecosystem. I meet people all the time, and I try my best. I don't look down on anyone, especially like when you're trying to figure this thing out, because it's difficult. Especially if you didn't grow up in that with that environment and that ecosystem that helps you figure these things out.
You take things for granted.
Yeah. And I think it's just tied to, so when you know what your purpose is, life is amazing.
Yeah.
Life is amazing.
You're talking about this concept that you and I kind of briefly talked about earlier, about education as a method for healing.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, you and I intersected at A&T State University, for which, let me just be super honest with everybody out there, I was not a student. I was, Chris and I both shared the backstory that our parents, or my mother particularly, went to college and didn't graduate. My father was a two-time Vietnam tour, and he lost his legs on the second tour. So my mother dropped out of A&T when she was 19 to marry this Army dude who just happened to be coming through town. Right. So Chris and I met at A&T State University while I was a student at UNC Greensboro, but had come over to do what everybody really wants to do at HBCU, which is march in the band.
March in the band.
Okay, so I was marching in the band. I was living my best life. I was living this duality, not necessarily of purpose, but of identity.
Yeah.
Right. So here I am in this historically Black university, from like 3 to 9 p.m. But my education is still being given to me through a white institution. Right. So I was going back and forth, which is something I had been doing since second grade, which for me now, as many of you know, having been like the first African-American woman to be tenured at a predominantly white institution, was exactly the method of how I was raised. So the stress that a lot of us feel in terms of being pulled apart between culture, intelligence, intellect, healing or spirit, faith, and intellect. We kind of find that thing where we got shifted back and forth just to be in the room. Was kind of what you're saying before. It was a illumination of this was your purpose to begin with.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Chris, when you think about that method of healing that you are working towards at Gerard, what about the backstory of your students, the institution, yourself becomes the groundwork for the transformation?
Yeah. I wanted to approach my leadership at Gerard. This is the first somewhat normal school year since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was working for the Obama Foundation during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, because the pandemic's still going on.
Yeah.
But I was so frustrated, and part of me was like, shit, I am so glad I'm not in a school. But then a part of me was like, they're doing this wrong.
Yes.
With how we are supporting kids and our adults.
Yep.
We are not owning this for what it is. And in my realm of influence with the Obama Foundation, I was supporting principals, supporting schools, and trying to help them through this. But we missed the mark. And then in 2021 school year, when schools were coming back, public schools were trying to make it happen, and they were doing business as usual. And we all saw it on the news. Like, I mean, schools were exploding with problems.
Yes.
And I said, if I ever get in front of a school and a student body ever again, and then when I, of course, found out that I was going to be the president of Gerard College, we were going to approach this very, very differently. And so what we did, I hired a team of folk, some consultants who are healing practitioners.
Yeah.
We started with the staff. Well, let me back up. I started with my leadership. I did some intentionality, some intentional things with my leadership, some healing exercises with them for a whole week. We did a whole retreat. Then we said, okay, we're going to do this with our staff. We did 3 weeks of healing-centered activities with our staff. How does that translate over to our students? And then empowering our staff with tools, a toolkit, things that they can incorporate into their classes. We must prioritize the healing of our entire community, not just for our kids. We cannot do business as usual. We're in a different world. And that's why I got really just pissed off and frustrated at the system and how they were doing our babies. No wonder their suicide is now the highest cause of death amongst teenagers.
Right.
How we're treating, look how we're thinking about it. So that's kind of how I've addressed and moved into this school year. I've realized that is a gift that God has given me. I'm able to see things a little bit differently. I haven't always recognized that. So when I'm stepping into as the president of Gerard, like, I'm just taking ownership of some of these things, because like some of my staff members and leadership, they don't know what I'm talking about. They've never had a leader like me. I've never really considered myself to be really unique and different. And now I'm starting to step into that identity. So that's my journey in my own leadership.
Yeah.
Like, Chris, you're unique. You're different. You're gifted. You're brilliant. And you're a healer.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that now. And I speak to it every time I'm in front of staff, in front of students. Prioritize your healing, because I'm going to show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do it as your leader. No, I'm going to have some work-life balance, and I'm going to talk to you all about my healing as well.
Right. You know, Chris, I mean, maybe it's because we two little North Carolina kids.
Right.
But that in itself has been and still is the process of my constant evolution, realizing that I'm not normal.
And accepting it.
Right? And it doesn't mean that I think I'm better than you, but I do know right now that I'm very confident that we are different.
Yeah.
And our individual evolution and blessings are tied up in our difference, not me pretending to be like you. Right. And so I think for a long time, I mean, I know I did. I don't know. I'm not going to put my timeline on you, but for a long time, I was trying to be normal. I was trying to fit in. I was trying to not sound too smart, trying to not be too deep, trying to not, trying to just hang out. and it weakened my own confidence in my intuition.
It does.
Yeah.
You're
And
trying to be somebody that you're not.
yeah. And then especially when it's such a lower version of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when people want to point out your difference, you go, "Oh no, everybody, no, it's fine. I'm
You
fine."
downplay it, you diminish it, all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking really clearly about like how we heal our babies,
Yeah.
but you're also giving a really clear blueprint of you can't be a healer when you're sick or when
Yeah.
you're not even acknowledging your dis-ease, right?
Right.
And so with administrators, with boards, we often have to look at, organizations as organisms that need
Mhm.
healing. And I
Yes.
think you're doing that from the top down. What effects have you seen so far?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a statement that I've been using, one Gerard.
Mm-hmm.
It's very internal, and everyone internally can really tell you what that means. That we are
Mm-hmm.
united around the heal, our own internal healing, as well as our students. So I didn't require anyone to use that. I didn't require them to put it in their signatures. I did not. I was just using it, and I was explaining what it means to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that's one symbol.
Yeah.
Kids are using it. Adults, parents have had T-shirts made
Oh, right.
saying
Mm-hmm.
one Gerard.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's one piece of evidence. And the other piece of evidence is when staff members are coming to me,
Mm-hmm.
and longtime staff members at Gerard College, and coming in my office and crying,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
saying, I want to go on a journey. I've been a racist person for so long, and no one has ever really pushed me to think about that. And you did that, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just, and I know once again, these taboo statements, but it's the feeling you get.
Yeah.
It's the feeling when you know that mindsets are changing and attitudes are shifting. Here at Gerard, there are people who have never worked together starting to work together.
Mm-hmm.
You're intentional about the things that you want to see. You
Yeah.
communicate that vision. You do it, and people usually get behind it. And so those are the early wins that we're starting to see.
Yeah. I mean, communicating the vision is, exactly what our entire practice is built on. Let's talk a
Mhm.
little bit about, just vision in general, your personal vision, your vision for the institution. And then, we're not going to pressure you to be out of the presidency too fast, but what would you imagine to be next?
Oh, I know what's next.
Okay, yeah, I love it. Okay, wait. Pause. Are y'all watching this? Like visionaries don't second guess the intuition. Like
No.
he already knows what's next. It's not about getting stuck in any particular pattern, situation, circumstance, condition, because if you're evolving with the vision, you can change at any moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
What hit us?
I want to figure out a way, and I've been doing some research. I want to tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
I love documentaries, always have. And I want to tell documentaries around stories that I think are important and unique and incredible.
Yeah.
And so I want to be an executive producer. And I will probably produce my first documentary here at Gerard College,
Uh-huh.
centered around Gerard College. And I've done the research on what would it cost to be an executive producer. I don't want to honestly, I don't want to partner with anyone. I want to do it on my own.
Right.
And I want that to be my final run. I want to really I want to shift narratives.
Yeah. Yeah.
About our people and our stories. And I know there's so many people who are doing it, but there's just so many stories to give you an example of a story that I want to show. I really want to take a deep dive into when does it happen? When do we start criminalizing Black men?
Yeah.
And what's compelling is a story about a young man. I'm going to mispronounce his name, so I'm not going to say his name, but it's based out of Chicago. He was 11 years old, and he was hunted by the police in Chicago at 11 years old, and he ended up being shot and killed. This young man, at 11 years old, he was wanted because he was essentially labeled a young serial killer. He was involved in gangs. drugs
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, got misguided, right?
Yeah.
And he ended up killing like 4 people. And police were looking for him. Rival gangs were looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and he was gunned down, an 11-year-old black male.
Yeah.
And nobody at that time thought to think about who did him wrong.
Right. Where did it start? Mm-hmm.
Where did it start?
Yeah.
And why did, and the police were after him just as much as the gangs were after him.
Mm-hmm.
And when do we get to this point? Why do we criminalize young black people at a certain time? And I want to tell stories like that. So that's an example.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, from cute to criminal. Like I want to be on the timeline. Like I want to look at it too, right? Because these are conversations that I have with my own child.
Absolutely.
Growing up in the whitest state in the country, like really being mindful of like how you're being perceived and who you get to be in certain places. Well, we got some people in the chat who can't wait to watch. We also have some clients in the chat who are dropping the names of some of our clients who are amazing cinematographers. So we'll introduce we'll introduce them.
Wonderful.
We don't get better by ourselves, right? And so I want to just break down something that you just said, because on this particular platform, I like to not just try to inspire people, because my mentor says inspiration without action is merely entertainment. And I've had a 20+ year career in entertainment. I'm not here to entertain people. I'm really here to transform lives. And so when we think about what you just said, which you said it so quickly, people might have missed it. You said, I don't want to partner with anybody. Now, let's be clear. You did not say you don't want to grow. You did not say you don't want to collaborate on the vision. You said the vision is very clear and I don't want it watered down.
That's right.
That's different, y'all. I just wanted to break that apart, because he didn't say I'm gonna do it by myself, me entrepreneur till I die. No shade to Issa, right? But nobody really is self-made. And so even in this new venture, you're going to need people, but you still want to keep the vision intact. That's
because
very
I
different.
know that God gave it to me.
Right.
And I can show you better than I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. No, it's not meant for other people. Now, am I going to need other people to help me execute it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the executive producer piece is going to be me.
Yes, exactly. Right. Because ultimately, we're not saying that we are autonomous in our lives, but you are the executive producer of your life because it's your vision. No one can be you. No one can do it the way you do it. And if we're not fully executing, then we're missing the mark and losing a part of our own identity.
I think that's a whole statement. You need that. That's a whole session right there. But how to be an executive producer of your life. Come on now.
No. We talk about authorship over here at Steps and Stages. Let's just say real quick, if you're missing it and you're not ready for Vision Camp Live, or you don't have your ticket, you need to jump over to lifestepsandstages.com and be in the room, Burlington, Vermont, November 19th. Invest in yourself. Listen, we got a quote at the bottom of the screen, one of my famous Octavia Butler quotes, right? All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. And with all the ups and downs and the things that have been shifting, what's your number one priority when things change?
My number one priority is to acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. We have to acknowledge that, hey, things are changing.
Yeah.
And you have to also recognize, am I a part of this change, or does this change mean that I need to be changing too? So we have to acknowledge that the change is there, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes I've run into this in my personal life and in my intimate life.
Yeah.
When people don't recognize that the person that you may be with is changing.
Yeah.
Are you going to change along with them?
Right.
And acknowledging the change is step one for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so interesting because of what you were talking about between your transition from the foundation into education and noticing that the system was trying to do business as usual. Yeah. When we try to do anything business as usual, we're not finding new questions. We're not opening ourselves up to our own evolution. And ultimately, we're just going to get stuck in a new pattern. Might not be the old pattern, but this a new pattern, right? And so getting unstuck is the next layer of this question, Chris. When you get people used to change, which You were probably coming into an institution that was suffering from what a lot of institutions were suffering from: change management, change fatigue, right? And being visionless.
Yeah.
So what is, or in your personal or professional life, like what is that getting unstuck
Yeah.
step?
Yeah. That's a great question. Um, it has been that, and I'm glad you called that out and acknowledging that. Like Gerard College is 174 years old,
Yeah.
and oftentimes all that they know is getting in the way of all that we can achieve, right?
Yeah.
And that happens in a lot of situations, a lot of old institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how do you get unstuck? I really, I think I found it to be very advantageous to really just model innovation.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of model for people, hey y'all, and I start with my leadership. Hey, I want to do this thing. I'm going to lead it, but I want to talk to you all about it. I want to get your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something very, very small. An example was how we did professional development. They had
Okay.
never done professional development the way that I wanted to do professional development. I'm like, okay, here's a moment for change, and I'm a model for them. Did it take a lot out of me because I had to plan the entire thing? But now they've seen how I like professional development and how it can be so much more intentional and engaging. And
Mm-hmm.
now when we do it again, and now I'm starting to see when my team are facilitating meetings and stuff, they're doing a lot of the things that I showed them.
Yeah.
Initially, it was a lot of work for me because I have to show people.
Yeah.
I have to, number one, get them invested and
Yep.
inspire them
Mm-hmm.
to support what I'm trying to do, but then I have to model it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I've seen, you know, explaining everything when it's your vision and it's been given to you. Sometimes you do got to execute it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do. And then
Yeah.
once you do, people will jump on board with you, and you'll find those executors that,
Yeah.
that are planted for you.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to find those individuals.
Yeah.
See
That's
the vision
awesome.
and able to execute it.
Yeah. We call those people in our community partners in believing, right? Someone who can not just take up the gauntlet with you, but
Yeah.
sometimes they need to remind you of who you are,
Yeah.
what you said you were going to do, and fill in the gaps,
Yeah.
right? Like, because also rest is a part of this revolution.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. Listen, Chris, we don't want to hold you all night. This has been an amazing
It
conversation.
really
Thank you so
has.
much
I'm
for
just blown by
joining
it,
us.
though.
I know time is flying by. Listen, if you haven't gotten your ticket to Vision Camp, the link will be below. If you've never heard of Gerard College and you want to get an understanding of the transformation through education that this amazing gentleman, Christopher Goins, the new invested president at Gerard College, is spearheading, then make sure that you check the links below and understand how you might be able to transform your life through education. It's
Yeah.
not just about institutional grades, it's about life experience. Vision in Steps and Stages is the key to personal innovation. And if you haven't asked, what would you love lately? We want you to jump into one of our vision cohorts. Jump over, follow Life Steps and Stages, or just make an appointment for your free vision call. I'd love to help you excavate the next question. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. We
Wow.
hope this is not the last time. I can't wait to visit Gerard.
Yeah, for
Gabe,
sure.
you're moving schools. Just saying,
Tell Gabe I'm mad at him. Come down and say hey.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week on
Bye,
Wisdom
everybody.
Wednesdays.